Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
We can.
Okay,
Well, I
perfect.
can.
Yep.
Hopefully everyone can.
Yes.
You're the
Yep.
most important right now,
There we go.
Andrea.
I see myself. I see a lot of myself.
That's amazing, Andrea.
Oh, thank you. It's so crazy to me to look at like pictures like that. I'm like, whoa. Like,
You're like you're like, who is that person?
yeah, like I had no idea what I was even doing for half the time, but I got here.
That's what matters is you got here. But Andrea's gonna dive into just telling us her entire journey. It's very powerful, and I feel like you guys have so much you can take away from it. So thank you, Andrea, for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Of course, of course. Do you want me to just get into it?
Yeah, just go right ahead.
Okay, you ready for a life story? I am Andrea, if I don't know you yet, and I've been with the Slay Squad since last March, I believe, working with Lindsay. And it's been so nice. But like the beginning of this said, like I've over my journey lost over 100 pounds, but it's been over 5 years. So they asked me to come and do a little chat about how I gained the weight, how I lost the weight, all of the things. Here's something. Just because it is a longer journey than is very appealing for people, and it was still really worth it. So these are some pictures from like more of my early days, kind of starting point. And it like I grew up in a dieting household. So my mom tried every diet in the world. And so of course, when let out to be on my own, I did the same thing. So the size that I am right now, I was basically through high school, college, right after, but it was because I was doing all the cardio, like cardio all the time, eating basically nothing. I was also a vegetarian for a long time, but I was like the bad kind. And yeah, so I was the bad kind of vegetarian and I would just not eat, or I would eat like one bean burrito from Del Taco, and that was my day. And so bad relationship with food. I went to college, learned how to drink and was really good with it, good at it. So like bad relationship with alcohol, all of these things. And so gained a little bit of weight out of college, but stayed relatively kind of average size. I was never thin, but stayed pretty average. And then got married, did some, bad things to get smaller for getting married. And after that, in 2017, I believe, that's when I had a health scare. So I developed like very sudden onset vertigo. And I remember one time I was driving home from work and I drove off the side of the road, and I'd never felt this before in my life. And so that vertigo turned into like this whole phase of life where I could barely get out of bed some days. I took a leave of absence from work. Like all of these things happened, and I would go to a grocery store or something and I would get so nervous about the vertigo happening that I developed anxiety. And so now I still have generalized anxiety and panic disorder, but it all stemmed from this one event that happened. And so after that happened, I wasn't moving, I wasn't doing my cardio, I wasn't keeping up with my not eating that I was doing before, basically. And so it just started this steady weight gain, and I gained 100 pounds in, I mean, probably less than 18 months. And then it kept creeping up over the next couple of years. So that all kind of happened. And with all of the anxiety medications I was trying, the neuromeds that they were trying on me, there was so much weight gain. And I think when I look back on it, I didn't even realize, because I was caught in this like mental trap of like fight or flight for your health, of just living and like not being dizzy all the time and not being panicky all the time, that I didn't notice what was happening to my body. And that's kind of crazy now to think, but I would look in the mirror and I wasn't looking for that. It was just like, can I get out of bed today? More things. So if you have ever had a mental or physical health scare like that, you kind of know it becomes put on the back burner. And so that's what happened for me. But then I got medication that I needed and I got leveled out and I just never picked it back up. So I just kind of left it where it was. And like it says here, I got up to right above 250 pounds. And that's where I stayed for probably 2018 to end of 2020-ish. And so then finally, mid 2020, I was like just looking for something to do during COVID. And I found Whole 30. And I saw a bunch of people doing this. And like one thing about me is I like to fixate on something and like go full in and get really good at it and do it. And I was like, you know what? I've seen some pictures of myself lately. I don't like them. I like my eyes are open to what I'm looking like. My eyes are open to what I'm feeling like because I'm sluggish, I'm tired, my joints hurt more than anybody knows. And so I was like, I'm gonna do this. And now looking back at that decision, weird choice to go from like happy hours every day and like drinking literally every night to be like, you know what I'm gonna do? Cut everything off. But I knew I was like, unfortunately, good at restriction. And so I took that route. And that's when I found out how much I weighed because with Whole30, you need to weigh yourself at the beginning. And like, it's not necessarily like a diet all the way, but I was using it as a diet. It's more of finding out your inflammatory triggers and things is what it's meant for, but I was using it for a diet. So that's when I saw the number and I was like, okay, no, we have to stop. And then let's see what I said happened next. So okay, yeah, I saw that number, and I think on the last slide I had something in the bullet point of like a lot of people develop body dysmorphia, like thinking that they are bigger than they are when they look in the mirror. But I think what I had done to myself was I'd look in the mirror or wear this type of clothing where I actually thought that I was smaller than I was. And so I'd look in the mirror and I would not notice. And especially when you get to a certain point, when you hit, probably when I hit like 210, 220 pounds, the weight gain isn't as noticeable anymore. And so it's like a slippery slope because it just keeps happening and you just keep making the same choices. And so I never thought that I'd gotten that big, but that number was like the biggest wake up call. And pictures like this, like I remember this day and I remember like traipsing through this pumpkin patch and my knees hurting so bad. And I remember when I went home, like my ankles were so big because of just like carrying that weight. Like you can't avoid that. And so it's just so much swelling all the time. And so looking at all those things, I was like, okay, I've got to make a change. And my first thought was, let's do Whole30. Let's just cut out everything I've ever eaten before.
And I like how you touch on it. It is kind of like a slow progression that it can happen without you even realizing if you're not paying attention to it, especially if you're struggling with mental health and it's like you're just trying to make it through the day and you didn't even know like this is happening so fast. And then once you
Mhm.
get to that certain point, you're not seeing it as much. And then it step on the scale and you're like, whoa, what just
Yeah,
happened?
100%.
Oh, and I would love if you guys dropped in the chat, since you guys are all in the Slay Squad, what was your moment, if you're okay with being vulnerable, what was your moment where you're like, okay, I need to make a change for myself? I would love to hear that.
This is kind of like the same thing. Like I never really knew how much I had gained. And like actually, even at my largest size, I was I owned an online clothing boutique and I would just be modeling my stuff every day. Like, like that was something I could do from home. Like even with my anxiety and things, for some reason I wasn't anxious about going live on Facebook for strangers. So that's what I did. And I was like pretty great at it. So I just kept doing it and didn't realize that like something was happening like my sizes were going up and I was just like okay this is fine but so even though I felt confident in my looks to a point I felt pretty bad in a lot of ways. I put a few of them here like the joint pain after large meals I would throw up. I threw up. I was telling this to Lindsay and I kind of had forgotten that it happened. I threw up literally every day and it wasn't because I was trying to, but it was because my gut health was so bad. Like I was just eating and drinking so much crap that my gut health was so bad that after any large meal, I would throw up. And like I found out later, like much later, that I have some lactose intolerance issues. I'm like, oh, of course I do. Like that makes a lot of sense. And I was eating cheese and I was eating all of the dairy, all of the stuff. And just doing that all the time, that just wreaks havoc on your body. And then my anxiety was bad too because of the like partially the gut health, all these things. But I was also so tired, so much lack of energy, so sluggish. And now that I look back on those things, I truly, in those moments, I didn't realize how bad I was. Like, I didn't realize how tired I was because I was just deep in it. And I don't think you know until you get to the other side what you were dealing with.
And
I
how
think for so many people, it's like you're used to feeling bad. So it's just
Mhm.
your normal. Like you don't even realize how bad it is because you're used to feeling like crap. And when you start to feel better and when you feel good, you're really aware of how bad
Yeah.
you felt and how not normal things you accepted were.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%.
just looking at the chat, Andrea, so many of the girls in our squad relate to you and just like looking back at pictures of themselves and being shocked when they did get the heaviest point and not even realize it was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sneaks up on you. So after my little stint of Whole30, which I did do successfully, by the way, realized that is not sustainable for me in my life. And so then I went on a quest, like the greatest quest of all time, to find out like what could help me. And so I tried everything. I tried keto, which was not for me. I tried like paleo. I tried all these things that were like the fad diets. I tried in a prior life, I had tried like the Medifast, the Optavia, however you say it, all of those different things, the Nutrisystem, and none of them worked. And so finally, a girl who was like a friend of a friend I went to high school with was doing during COVID this online group workouts. And I was like, I can do that. It wasn't one-on-one, it was like one to many. So it was pretty cheap. And you just worked out live with her every day. And so I started to do that and it helped to get me some movement. But I remember I would do like 2 workouts a week and would eat decently and just count my calories. And that was all I could do. And so in the first year, I gave up a lot because I was doing it by myself. I really didn't have any example of anyone to look to who had publicly done something like lost this much weight because I didn't know where my endpoint was going to be, but I knew it was a lot. And I didn't know anyone who had done that much. And so I was working out with this girl and with all of these other people that were in this little Facebook community. And I remember thinking, like, you guys don't know how it feels to be me doing this. Like, you guys are a lot smaller than me to start. Like, all of your struggles aren't the same. And it's like they're very valid struggles, but they weren't mine. And so it was something that I did. I gave up a lot. Like there would be a lot of times where I'd do a month, do really great. I'd lose 10 pounds. And then I'd be like, you know what? This is too hard. This is too hard. Like this is just my genetics made me big. Like my family is big. And so maybe this is just what it is. Like maybe that's it. Maybe it's my medication. Maybe it's because I have like some PCOS symptoms. Maybe it's because I have an underactive thyroid. Like all of these things are true, but they can also be true and you can still lose weight, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor. But um, all of those things together, I just kept giving up. And now when I look back and I look at like the girl in these pictures, I just kind of want to shake her and be like, you could do this so much faster if you weren't self-sabotaging it like literally every turn. Especially at the holidays, I would just eat one meal. I'd let myself have one treat meal a week, and then it would become a treat meal and a happy hour. And then it would become like, okay, 2 days off. And then it would basically become, okay, I'm not going to meal prep this week. So I just gave up so many times and it could have gone so much faster. So in one of these bullet points, it says, I think if I totaled it up all the way, I've probably lost closer to 200 pounds because of all the times I just let the scale go up and then had to bring it down again. And those are like invisible wins that no one else sees, and you're just doing it to yourself. And so that was a big part of my journey was gaining weight and then having to lose it again. And alcohol was definitely something that was a coping mechanism for how I was feeling about how hard this journey was too. So I would be like, forget this. I'm going to go out and have some cocktails. When you are a larger person, you could handle a lot more alcohol, or I could personally. I mean, I was pretty good at handling a lot of alcohol, and that's a lot of calories. Like, and so that, even if you're like, oh, I had Tito soda, like that's my drink because it's like a diet friendly, I guess, alcohol. But that doesn't mean anything when you're gonna have 8 of them. Like it's like that's a lot of calories. And so I was doing that to myself too, and making yourself feel good for a minute, but really you're just consuming so many extra calories that aren't food. They're not good for you. They're not good for anything. And so yeah, this whole point of this slide was like, if you're gonna give up, like just give up for like an hour. Don't give up for longer because you're just gonna have to lose the weight again. You're gonna be the same place in 2 weeks and be like, oh crap, I wish I wasn't 12 pounds heavier now.
And in this little alcohol thing, Andrea touched on how she hung out with people who socialize with food and drink all the time. And I just want
Mhm.
to touch on like who you surround yourself with does impact you. And it's good to surround yourself with people that are going to have a positive influence on you. And I'm not saying like it's bad if your friends drink or just want to eat, but it can have a big impact on you if it's hard for you to set those boundaries. And then also, Andrea has said it's fine for you guys to reach out to her if you do have, say, 100+ pounds to lose and you are struggling with like having someone who gets it because she's been there and she gets it, and you have someone in this community that you can talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody needs just a person to listen to, because it sucks. Like you're not going to reach your goal as fast as other people, and that is just truth, but you can reach it faster than I did. And so I can help you like avoid my mistakes, but it like I don't know, what's that saying where they say it's like super simple, but it's not easy? It's like really hard and it is gonna like suck. And that's okay, I think, because if I could go back and just like convince myself to embrace that suckiness for a little bit longer, like in just more thorough timeline of it, I would have been so much better off. So this is the what I tried slide. There's probably not enough room on here, but I kind of touched on this before. Really everything. I did the juicing when that Breville juicer was big, whatever that show was, that documentary that made me think I was going to only have juice for the rest of my life. HCG, the drops, the shots, the Optavia, the Weight Watchers, the Nutrisystem. Actually, I made a note by Weight Watchers because like that actually helped me learn how to track a little bit. So not total shade to Weight Watchers, but a little bit. My Fitness Pal, only eating like 1,000 calories a day, keto, Whole30, intermittent fasting, everything, like just everything except for the thing that actually took the work to do. And then finally, I like something clicked and I figured out a little bit more. But the way that I kept going was just that I am personally, like with my own goals, one of the most intense people I know because the only like the fiercest competition I feel is with myself. So if I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, which lucky for me because I really kind of didn't have much guidance for a lot of this. So if you're already here and you have a lot to lose, you're in such a good place. I was just flailing around out there and trying to make something happen. I read the book Atomic Habits like 5 times in a row to keep myself going. If you haven't read it, you totally have to. It's my favorite book. I gift it to people. It's kind of simple concepts, but it's about habit stacking and not changing everything at once. Like do not go in and do Whole30 and work out 7 days a week if this is your long-term goal because you're going to hate it and it's going to be the worst and you're going to quit. And Atomic Habits is really about just stacking the habits and making them non-negotiables and part of your routine. So if you're a routine person, it's perfect. One big thing of how I kept going is spousal support. I know not everyone has it, but if you can get your husband or partner on board a little bit, my husband, I was lucky, he actually started working out, getting it like more into fitness before I did. And so he was game to do whatever, and I cook, so he eats whatever I make, which is fine. But he has been like the biggest support the whole way through. So if you have that, like I know that's a very privileged thing to have, but it's so helpful to have someone who even on like your hard days is like, no, like yeah, let's go out to eat, but let's go somewhere that's got like a great taco salad, or let's go somewhere that's got something that you can eat that's like lean protein and not everything is fried. That's a really great component, and working out together is fun. The next one, a little controversial hot take, but as soon as you decide to do this, like tell everybody you know. That is, maybe it's just me and like me wanting to put the pressure on myself more, but once I fully locked in, the amount of selfies that I posted after working out, like dripping in sweat because I was doing like workouts that I don't know, I was burning like so many calories because it was a lot bigger. But I would made sure everyone I knew that I was doing something and they had a lot of opinions, positive, negative, and otherwise, but they knew I was doing it. And so I knew they were watching me. And like that gave me more accountability because I wasn't part of a group or anything. And so every time I saw people, they would ask me how I was doing. And sometimes it was like nice, sometimes it wasn't. But regardless, like I just wanted to win, I guess, and against myself. And I wanted to show them that I was able to do it. So yeah, tell everybody you know. And I was posting on social media. And then even if I gave up for like 3 or 4 weeks, I always felt this intense pressure to get back on track. It might not be the healthiest way to get accountability, but if you did not already have the Slay Squad, it's a worthwhile thing to do.
It does help when you know people are watching and you
Yeah.
said that you were gonna do something.
Yeah, I was like, look at me, make sure I do this.
I
And I
think it's just showing that you need accountability, even if you're not in a team, like everyone needs like something outside themselves sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I know that I did that I would just like caution everyone else, like you'll probably identify it in yourself because I still do it sometimes, is the quiet quit. Like you hear about that in corporate America and with people with their jobs, they kind of like check out, but they're still present. And I did that with this journey a lot of the time. Like I would still show up and do the workout, but maybe it was like half-hearted more times than not. Like sometimes you show up and you go through the motions because that's just what you have to do. But when it's most of the time, like that's a problem. And like I would have one more drink when I was going out, or I would like eat my whole portion instead of like half of it at a restaurant, which is like a pretty big amount of food, or I'd have two like cheat meals or whatever it was that for me was like a quiet quit, like just like one thing too many. And then it made the access to the next step down the slippery slope more easy to come by. Those were things that I wish I hadn't done because that's when you're going to gain those 10 pounds and you're going to have to lose them again anyway. And lying to yourself is so easy when you're doing that too. And I was telling Lindsay like yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day before? I was like, I started my period. I really wanted taquito from 7-Eleven. Like I love a gas station. And the cream cheese taquitos at 7-Eleven are just like elite. So anyway, I wanted that and I went and got that. And then I ate half of that. And then I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if should I have that? Should I track that? And the lie that my brain wanted me to tell from like many years in the making was like, oh, it was only half. Like, don't track it. That's fine. It was just like 3 bites. You're satisfied. You don't need to track anything, but you have to track it because all those things add up so much. And like, this is something I learned over my entire time too, is like every bit of oil you cook with, all of the butter you're using, the sauces, like those were my like top three of things that added up. And the half a taquito here and there, if you don't, you can have those things, but you have to track it and then figure out how your day is going to be like a puzzle with your this budget of money or macros that you have. You just have to figure it out. So if I want to eat a third of a thin crust Domino's pizza, which sometimes I do, I can, but I have to figure it out and like not lie to yourself and you have to track it, like because it's fine. Like that's the coolest thing about the way everything is done here with macro tracking and having like a decent amount of calories is that you can have what you want in a lot of cases. Like you can't have everything you want all day. But like if you want one thing special in a day, you can do it, but you just have to tell yourself the truth about it. And also tell yourself the truth about the effort you're putting into the workouts and like how locked in you are to everything because you have to be accountable to yourself too. And like numbers don't lie. Like math is math. And that took me a while to like really own up to is that the numbers of how much I'm eating, there's nothing that's going to make it so if I'm eating 1,500 calories a day, I shouldn't be losing weight still at this deficit, unless I'm at maintenance. But yeah, the lies are easy.
And you're only hurting yourself with that, right? Like your
Mhm.
results speak for themselves. And if you're not seeing them, you have to be real with yourself and be like, are you really doing the work? Are you missing things? Are you acting like you're not eating the things you're eating? Because it's only hurting you and it's only impacting you. And the first step is just admitting it to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, this one's fun. Here's me pregnant. So Travis and I had never like said we want a bunch of kids. We're gonna try to have kids. We never like attempted, but we never were not trying. So in all of the years, like I've been married for 11 years, in all of those years until a couple of years ago, we had never gotten pregnant. And like I do think that when I started taking care of myself and I started getting good nutrition in my body, when I started adding movement, I was more able to become pregnant. Like I can't prove that, but just because of how it worked and we were never trying and then suddenly bam, 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 I was pregnant 3 times, very close together. I had 2 losses and one daughter who's 2 now, but my body was just so much more ready to have a baby. So if that's something that you are thinking about too, about family planning, like I don't know, my body was just like, okay, yeah, girl, we did it. Like, let's have a baby. And it was weird and wild. And yeah, I just think like it was my body knew that I wasn't ready before. Like there was too much else that we were dealing with fight or flight wise.
And Andre, I would love to hear a little bit about like what really worked for you to lose that first 90 pounds and like what was like what you used the most of too.
Yeah, I think like this top bullet point was really it took me a long time to get it, but this is the one is that I had to train my brain to think of food as fuel because I had socialized using food, I had celebrated using food, I had punished using food. Like I had done all of these things revolving around food my whole life. And so finally figuring out that it could just be fuel and I didn't need to enjoy it. Like that I can enjoy food at some point in the future. And like obviously I'm not gonna make food I hate, but for a season, you have to just suck it up and I mean, eat the boring stuff and use it as fuel. And so I was telling Lindsay too, for about once I finally like wrapped my head a little bit around what I was doing when I first started, for the first 18 months to 2 years, Travis and I ate the exact same breakfast and lunch every single day. And I also told her that at this point in time, Travis made that breakfast like maybe 2 months ago because he was like, I'm going back to the egg bake. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. And then he made it and I took a bite and physically could not eat it. Like because I'd eaten it for 2 years. And so like now I just have an aversion to this one food, but we ate the exact same food for 2 years in a row and it worked. Like that is basically how I lost that weight because it's okay to be boring. It's okay to have a season where like you're not loving and savoring every bite of food that you have. It's just what you need to like lose weight, to make your knees feel better, make your ankles feel better, like not be able to have to like huff and puff going up the stairs. Like I would sacrifice that anytime for how I feel now over what I felt like then.
And I still feel like you can still love food and enjoy food on this journey, but I feel like what you're saying is so important because in any other area of life, we don't view it as like something that we should just constantly satisfy ourselves, right? Like every desire we want, we should just fulfill it instantly. Like you would never say that to someone like with money. Like,
Mhm.
oh, you want that? Just buy, just spend, 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 spend. Like we would view that as like a person not being wise with their money. But for some reason with food, we feel this like we should always get exactly what we're craving. Always order what you want. Like, we just satisfy, satisfy, satisfy instead of having discipline. And in every area of life, we view that as a bad thing. But for some reason with food, we're like, we deserve what we want all the time.
Mhm. Yeah. And I mean, I would leave a little like leeway for dinners. Like, so knowing very hard knowing knowledge of like what that breakfast and lunch contained gave me more opening for like a creative dinner, like maybe a dinner that had like a sauce or a sprinkle of cheese or like whatever it was, because obviously I was doing this by myself. So I wasn't doing like the right macro tracking yet, but I was calorie counting and I would let me have some freedom, like you're saying, or like I'm a candy girl. Like I want to have four peach rings every day. And so I would track that and it would be fine because of what I was doing otherwise. But I think something Chelsea said too is like the discipline is what I learned. Like I think that doing this the last 5 years of my life has made me probably one of the most disciplined people that I know. Like, and that's just a natural thing that came out of it because you have to be. Like, you're not going to be motivated. I have been motivated for maybe like 1/10 of this whole time. Like, I'm not motivated today, quite honestly. But because it's habits and it's like the discipline of making it a non-negotiable to eat these foods and do these workouts and like just track your stuff, it just, it's boring, but it really works. And I think realizing that motivation isn't going to be there and it just is that habit that's going to carry you through, even if you lift half the weight that day or whatever, just go through the motions and make it happen so that it's still your routine, like it's still what you're doing. Yeah, I think that those were the biggest things where food is fuel and the discipline is going to win every time.
Definitely. And you are one of the most dedicated people I know. Like, yeah, Andrea, I have to tell her to pull back sometimes because she
Like a
she is
little.
so dedicated and she shows up and she always gets her stuff done. But you guys, it's because she's worked so hard and created these habits and just had years of doing this. And now it's just like she is so on it and it's so impressive to see.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it didn't come naturally. So now it's just like I'm really intense about stuff and people are like, "Oh, calm down." And it's like, "Oh, I had to be intense. Like I had to do these things." But that's like what this mental toughness is about. Like I love a routine anyway, but this elevated like new level of like routine loving because you kind of have to get the results that you want here. But the scheduling time blocks to meal prep, like making yourself meal prep, making yourself figure out recipes that you're gonna like. Well, I mean, you can tolerate, like for the long haul. I can recite the actual recipes for those two things that I ate every day because I just every Sunday I took an hour and 90 minutes, laid out 10 containers for breakfast, 10 for lunch, because my husband was along for the ride, whether he wanted to be or not. And we just portioned them out. And so that has been so important. And I work a ton and I work a high stress job and I travel a lot for work. And so figuring out how to slot all those things in and not let those be excuses. And sometimes they still are. Like sometimes you end up at a work event and there are a couple drinks and there is some food that looks good, but getting back to it the next day is where that discipline comes in. Like showing up at the hotel gym the next morning, checking the menu for the restaurant you're going to the next night. Those are where all of those things came in for me personally. And yeah, I have a point that says like I've never been especially motivated. So that's it's just the routine. It's just the habits. It's the boring stuff that adds up. And I got to a point where I had lost 90 pounds, I think around 90 pounds. And that included like pregnancy and back down. So about 90 from start. And then I just didn't know what else to do because I had started macro tracking, but I like kind of used an app to make up my own macros. I've been following a really well-known like YouTube trainer, but obviously that's like a one to millions situation. So nothing was personalized. I had done as much as I could in my little home gym in my apartment and with a new baby. And I was like, I need to do something else. And so that is when I finally got introduced to the Slay Squad. And so if there's anybody on this journey that's already here, like you are light years ahead of where I was because this is, I mean, this is so personal. It's so custom and it's just made for you. So I think take advantage of everything. And if you are in the same starting point that I was, don't make it at all see in 30 days what I think. And I know that everybody is like, try something for 3 or 4 months or whatever, but like, no, seriously, give yourself 6 months because I don't think in the mirror I saw anything until like 6 months in. Because when you are at a certain size, just like you don't see it add up, you don't really see it come off. And when no one's giving you those positive affirmations of like, oh my gosh, you look so good. Oh, skinny legend, like you want that, nobody's giving it to you, and then you want to quit and just go back to having fun and like eating what you want. But give it 6 months because someone will say something in 6 months, I promise. So what's different now? I know we're running out of time. So I'm in a place now that I didn't think would happen again because I didn't really have a long-term goal. Like I said, I didn't have anyone to look at and be like, well, she looked like me before and now she looks like this. Maybe that's it. And it's so weird because now I'm talking to Lindsay about maintenance, and I have never once in my life, even when I was 12 years old, wanted to maintain my current body. And so that's like a whole different like mind trick of what's going on. But it's so cool. And my gut health is so much better. Like just talking about things outside of weight and physical appearance, my anxiety is so much better. And I believe it's directly related to my gut health as well as like movement and like an outlet to get things out. I used to be taking like two anxiety medications every day. Now I just take them as needed, maybe like once a week, or if I'm going to an airport or the DMV or somewhere terrible. But yeah, my hair is better, my skin is better, like I can walk around and not hurt. And I didn't ever realize like how bad I was hurting. Like I didn't realize how I would like end a workout and be in tears over what my knees felt like. And it would be body weight and it would have been modified. And a trainer telling me like, no, I modified it. Like I don't know what else. And it was just the amount of pressure on my joints. And I didn't realize it. And I used to snore and I don't snore anymore. Like it's all of these little things that are not aesthetic, but it feels so different. I have better mental clarity. Like I'm so excited to be a good role model for my daughter so that she's not growing up in like weird cabbage soup diet culture. But I can like have a treat with her or go out and do whatever. And yeah, there's just so many things beyond the physical that changed, but the physical is pretty cool too. I probably said a lot of this already, but yeah, you have coaching before I did, so suck it up and buckle in. Sorry. Be really boring, like go into stealth mode, do it for you, like figure out why you want to do it. Like if you want to be a hot mom, like that is plenty of reason, in my opinion, to go ahead and do it. But if you want to like live to see your grandkids and play with them and go to Disneyland with them or whatever, like that's a cool reason too. Or if you want to, like I did, not have as bad of anxiety and like maybe you want a family, I don't know, just figure out the reason and then give it at least 6 months because the first 6 months are the hardest. No one's going to notice. People are going to make comments about your changed habits. It's going to be hard. And like, you just have to commit to it and like get through it, like head down and go through it. And then my one more plug for telling everyone you know about it because that really worked for me. Maybe that's just my personality, but make it a thing so that it almost becomes part of your personality. Like people have told me that like, oh my gosh, you post so much as part of your personality. I'm like, yeah, well, nobody showed me like what I could do before I did it. And so maybe like that's what people need. And I need it. Like I need for if I don't post a workout picture in 3 days, I need somebody to like sarcastically be like, oh my gosh, did you fall off the wagon? Because I'd be like, no, I just didn't post my pictures. Here they are. Like, suck it, Because that's just my personal way of motivating myself. Couple support, super important. If you've got a husband, get him in here. Any sort of partner. Travis works out with programming from Lindsay too, so it's super cool.
Yes, we do have couple support in the squad too, so that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And
And
then
this is
just accountability, like, yeah, it does. It's about to finish up, you guys, but I just, like Andrea said, accountability was probably the biggest thing for you, right? Whether it was social media or coach or your husband, it really helps.
Mhm. Yep, 100%. But yeah, if anybody has any questions for me, I used up all of our time and still had more things I'm sure in there to say, but let me know. I am happy to chat about anything because there are a lot of hard times along the way, but it works. So just
Yeah.
finish it. Just give yourself the gift of doing it.
And don't give up. Like you get up, you're gonna have times where you fall down, but get up as many times as it takes.
Mhm.
Thank you, Andrea. That was amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. Hopefully it was helpful in some way, but yeah, the moral of the story is you can do it faster than I did. So just do it.
I love that. All right, guys, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. But thanks for hopping on. Bye.